Hi, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Bernadette, and I want to thank you all for coming out. Tonight, we have Carter Buschardt. I hope I pronounced that right. He's a Bigfoot researcher and experiencer, and we're just going to bring him in and get the show started because he's a very interesting guest and a lot of fun. Hi, Carter.
Hello, Bernadette. How's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm just fine. I cooked a nice Mexican meal and I'm
So do you want to tell
stuffed it.
everyone who... Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
It's okay. You cut out. Sorry.
Yeah, you froze up for a minute.
So go ahead.
Here
You
we
were
go.
saying?
Oh, sorry. I just cooked me a nice big Mexican
Okay.
and I don't even want to take a siesta. I'm all ready to
go. So for those who don't know who you are and what you do you want to tell everyone about yourself?
Yes. I'm Carter Buschardt. I'm a Sasquatch researcher, investigator. I've written 3 books. I'm working on a 4th. All the books are Sasquatch Evidence of an Enigma, books 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm working on another one, which will not be in the Sasquatch series, so to speak. It's Sasquatch, but it won't be in the Enigma series. I'm doing it separate. But anyway, I've currently still with BFRO. I've had 100 reports published to BFRO. That's published. I've probably spoken to about 450, 500 witnesses over a 14, 15-year period. I led 4 expeditions for BFRO, 3 here in Missouri, 1 in Illinois in 2019. And I consulted on a couple of the Animal Planet Finding Bigfoot TV shows, 1 in Kansas, 1 in Missouri. And that's about it. That's it in a nutshell. I wrote these books kind of by accident. I wasn't planning on writing a book, but COVID hit and I was going, well, I guess I'm stuck at home for a while among where everybody else is. So I started researching my reports that I published. I realized I got a bunch of stuff here. I should probably do something with it because I wanted people to know, and I could elaborate on these before you really can, and when they're published. So anyway, that's me in a nutshell.
So before we go on, I just want to let everyone know if you guys have questions or anything for Carter, put them in caps and we'll get to them in the middle towards the end of the show, just so you guys know. So what have been your experiences with Bigfoot? Because you go out into the field and you have had encounters, correct?
Yeah. I'm not a keyboard guy. I actually go out in the field, I've had a lot of experiences. I'm having more with my habituation families, but the first time I saw one was when I was leading an expedition in 2013, I think it was, here in Missouri. And our party, there was another group that we sent them on a long circle around this research area, and they were going to come back and meet us. Well, they got lost. The radios weren't working. And so we got to where we were supposed to meet, and we were kind of being real quiet and maintaining radio silence in case a call came through, because you could hear it intermittently. And I was kind of scanning the woods with my thermal. I wasn't recording. I was just looking for them because I wanted to, and so I see a heat signature coming around the bend. I'm going, oh, God, here they are finally. Okay, awesome. And I'm watching. Well, it's not them. It's a freaking Sasquatch, and it walks around. It comes around the corner, and I don't think it knew we were there because we were all literally just standing dead silent in the dark, waiting to hear from our lost comrades. And so it took one step. The second step it took, it just vanished, not faded out. It just blew up like a flash bulb. Like a flash bulb went off. That heat signature just exploded, and that was it. It was gone. And I'm going, well, I was with a bunch of narrow-minded guys, and so I realized at that point I need to go over to team paranormal and quantum, because this ape only thing isn't going to work. I wasn't stoned. I wasn't high. I wasn't drunk. My equipment was state of the art, working fine. I wasn't hallucinating. I'm not, a paranoid, schizophrenic, or hallucinatory person anyway. So I went,
Yeah.
holy crap, that just happened. And up until that moment, I had not had anything but a few sprinklings of stories told to me because the crowd I was with were all ape only. If you think anything other, well, you're full of crap. So that began my journey with these beings, and they are beings. They have skill sets we just don't understand and deny to this day. But since then, I've seen a few other things. I've experienced things that happened to myself that are not explicable by any other means than, infrasound, telepathy. Something has affected me. And then when I started doing these reports, I started getting all these people who would say, well, I got something I want to, after they tell me the report, their story, then say, well, I got something I want to tell you, and you may not believe it. Okay, well, you just told me about you saw a creature that does not even exist, and you have something else you're going to tell me? Bring it on. Let me hear what you got to say. I want to hear that. And that's when I started getting little snippets, and people were very tenuous. They're very timid. They didn't want to talk about it because people had laughed at them, their husbands, wives, best friends, girlfriends, boyfriends, co-workers, close family members had all scoffed at them like, oh yeah, Bernadette done saw one of them Sasquatches. Let's have her over for Thanksgiving dinner. We can have a fun time with her,
Exactly. Yeah.
We'll make fun of her and have a good time at her expense, So that is when I started noticing that there's a trend, of the things these people were saying. And here's something I can't stress enough. They don't want, and do not to this day, they don't want any money. They don't want their names. They don't want the property exposed. They want nothing. They just want to tell the story, have somebody who's at least open-minded, if not outright believing them. And I've had some of the experiences they've had. So I'm going, I can finish your sentence. I know exactly what happened. I know exactly what you're going to say. I know exactly what happened to you. I feel it, I see it, and I get it. And you're not imagining things. You're not nuts, Maybe you are, but you saw what you saw,
maybe any other time, but at that time you were not. Yeah.
And so, all the critics right now, and with other researchers as well, not myself, but others, of course, are ragging all over me, because this can't happen. That didn't happen. You're just making that up, and all the other garbage that goes with that kind of stuff. And so that's when you're doing something right, because these people, they're coming out of the woodwork. That is the most awesome thing, because I wrote the first book and I had a few stories, but since then I've accumulated probably 50 to 75 witnesses that are like off the charts. They're habituation families, most of them. That's where most of my research is done now, because these people are living with a family or a clan of Sasquatch on their property, and they interact with them at various stages during any year. They might be weekly, it might be monthly. They see them, and they don't necessarily wave to each other, but they, they're watching each other. They're watching them live their lives, and my witnesses are watching them live their lives. It's just, it's a crazy, but real thing. And these people, some of them have sat on this stuff for so long, and they're so pent up, and they've had so many people just ridicule them and scoff at them, that some of them are brought to tears when they're talking to me, emotional, men and women, not a lot, but just enough to know that they're touched because you're listening to them, and they are touched because they finally get this out of their system and sharing it for maybe the first time in 3, 4, 5, 10 years, 20 years. I mean, it's just bizarre, and so, and that's one reason I write these books, is because I want these people with these quantum, paranormal, metaphysical type things going on that nobody believes right now to come forward and tell me. I put them in a book or talk to them on shows like this, and then somebody else will call me invariably I will get a call almost every other show that I do, podcast, because someone goes, "Hey, I got one just this afternoon from a guy in California. I was watching something you did on YouTube, and man,
Yeah.
that is, I mean, he just started rattling off and he wants to talk." So, I mean, it's a conduit, because these people don't have anywhere to go. It's like the
Right.
Underground Railroad. I mean, it's really sad. It's very, very sad that you
Yeah,
can't
it
talk about this.
is. It's, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
And no, I was going to say, it's important to have somebody like you or like Lon who will sit there and listen to somebody who's had the experience. Like you said, haven't had anyone. And for someone to sit there and go, I believe you, I've been through the same thing, or I know others, it's like this sigh of relief. And like you said, they know they're not crazy in that moment, because when it happens, when anything paranormal happens to you, you feel crazy.
Yeah, and what I tell them is,
It's that validation.
yeah, I'm not gonna believe you blindly, but we'll go over everything. And if I can't explain it, then you got
Right.
something. If you can't explain it away, like, well, you sure it wasn't a guy in a ghillie suit or a bear standing on his hind legs, or you sure you didn't have the bad taco for dinner and you just kind of getting, hallucinating a little bit, I mean, and if you go through
Yeah.
the list of obvious possibilities, a deer standing on his hind legs, or somebody pranking whatever it is they had happen to them. If they check all the right boxes, then what you say happened probably happened. I mean, there's just no other
Yeah.
explanation for it. You have to go where the evidence takes you. What I try to tell everybody, whether you're listening to this or you're an experiencer or you haven't an experience and you haven't told anybody yet, is, you go where the evidence takes you, and you don't have to believe it as long as you just consider it. Consider it for a couple of seconds. Like, well, well, it's possible. I mean, that's all. You don't have to believe it, but just consider that, minus other explanations, that sounds like it happened. So you can't just
Yeah.
blindly disregard it because you don't believe.
Right.
Ghosts, UFOs. Nobody believed in that. Now that's all happening. And the government will tell you, well, there's no such thing as UFOs. There's no such thing as Bigfoot. Well, oh wait, the government lied. There are UFOs.
Yeah.
So, and they lied. They've been lying for a long, long time, 70, 80 years at least. With the Tic Tac thing came out and all that. So, we got some lip service on that. Well, we didn't make them. We don't know where they came from. We're pretty sure we didn't make them here on planet Earth. We'll check into it and get back to you, but they are not from this planet. And so that'll keep it shut up for 2 or 3 years,
Yeah.
And then
And we're not going to call them UFOs. We're not going to call them UFOs. We're going to call them UAPs or UA whatever. Give them a fancy name and hope that satisfies you. Like, no, I'm still going to call them UFOs. That's not going to satisfy me because I know you're hiding more stuff. And I agree.
Yeah. Well, we'll call the Sasquatch distant unknown relative. We won't call them Sasquatch. We'll call them distant unknown relative.
That's a good one.
That's good. Okay, good. We'll go with that. What does that mean? Well, we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
So, and it's just darn irritating that and here's another thing is that the planet, we discover weekly, monthly, quarterly a new species of something: fish, animals, plant, something on the periodic tables. We find something new, and it hits the scientific journals. They talk about it all the time. If Sasquatch was just a dumb ape, as they say, which they're not, then what's the big deal? We just discovered an unknown primate that may or may not be related to man. That is freaking cool. It's a maybe it's a version of Cro-Magnon, or anything. But they don't say anything.
Yeah.
And that's the silence by science and the government is deafening to me.
Yeah.
So
it speaks louder than them saying anything.
Yeah. Someone like yourself and other people in the paranormal world and cryptids and things, we know they know. We know we know they know. And why are you lying to us? And I'm giving you my tax dollars to lie to me on top of it. What's the deal?
Yeah.
Let's have some kind of common area here where we can kind of come together and agree that, come on, man, what's the big deal? And if they have these
Hmm.
skill sets, which I am virtually convinced they do have,
Hmm.
then we got something else going on. And how fantastic that is. Unless you're trying to weaponize it and monetize it, which the government probably is, we'll get all the
Yeah.
knowledge we can out of this. And if there's something we can, turn into a nuclear weapon, or turn them into soldiers, an indestructible army, or whatever they want to do with it, then we'll get some word. But it's
Yeah.
insulting to the people that are experiencing these things, and
Yeah.
researchers that are going to a lot of trouble and expense and
Mhm.
time to get these answers, and they're just kind of going, you know.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And so, knowing what you know now during your first experience and seeing what you saw, do you think it was entering some sort of portal? Do you think it created the portal? What do you think that was?
Um, I think it left. It may have changed its vibrational frequency, but that was like an emergency thing. I think it just jumped portals or dimensions at that time. It went from one place to the other. Wherever it went,
Mhm.
it was gone. It was just flat out gone. There was nothing left. There was no, like, tinsel raining down or anything. It was just pew. Then I'm just looking
Wow.
at a couple of my fellow guys who they were actually a lot closer than I was. They didn't realize how close they were.
Mhm.
I was about 75 feet away, and they were probably 25 feet, because there was a guy standing close by over there
Oh,
smoking a
jeez.
cigarette, where this thing had just walked around the bend, you know. So
Oh, my.
for it to just disappear, it may have been a
Mhm.
cloaking mechanism of some type. I thought they'd probably just jumped a dimension or into a portal. There may be a portal there. Now, that area has since become one of my main research areas, and there's a lot of stuff going on there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. You definitely get a sense of, the heebie-jeebies and the hair on the back of your neck stand up when you get to this area. And that creeps a lot of people out, and I get it. It used to
Mhm.
be at first, but I know now that I'm in their living room. I'm where they live.
Yeah.
This is an area that they live and habituate. Daily.
Mhm.
This is an area they live, and so
So,
go ahead.
oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was done.
Okay. So for those who don't know, do you want to tell us a little bit more about like what habituation is? Do you want to, if you could give us one of your cases, if you from your book,
Oh,
or
sure,
even
yeah,
just what you're working on? Yeah.
yeah. Well, habituation, in visitation, there's two different things. Habituation, which means they are living on your property or right at the outskirts, but they are visiting your property often, and you can see them watching you from the woods or peeking behind a tree, that kind of stuff. And maybe, food's disappearing from your garden, and some of your chickens are disappearing, and things of that nature. A visitation is just where they're kind of coming and going. They may pass through your property on the way to another area. Your property may not have the type of habitat, food and water sources that they need, but it's right on the way to an area that they do like. So you may see them from time to time, but they don't really interact, and you don't necessarily acknowledge their presence. They don't acknowledge
Mhm.
yours. You just, oh, I think that was the Sasquatch back there. Sure, a really tall tree walking all by itself. So you see it, but and eventually you kind of know what they are, but you just kind of leave each other alone. It's an
Mhm.
uneasy truce, as I call it. You don't
Kind of
discourage it.
like the neighbor. Yeah. Kind of
Yeah,
like the neighbor who's there who doesn't bother you. Yeah.
yeah. You don't encourage it. You don't discourage it. You come and you
Mhm.
go, and that's it. Well, habituation,
Yeah.
they are living on or very, very near, and they visit your property on a regular basis. And you know this by, you see them, you hear them, you get structures, you hear rock clacks. A couple of my habituation families, three or four of them, have heard uh, conversations, the samurai chatter, the gibberish. People are hearing that. Now, a
Yeah.
couple of these people are actually hearing their names called. I've
Oh
got
my.
two. We were talking about this earlier. I've got two witnesses,
Mhm.
both women, whose husbands are gone all day, and so on occasion she'll be out in the
Mhm.
yard or in the house, and she'll hear Bonnie, Bonnie. It sounds like her husband. What's he doing here? He's not. He's at work. He's not here.
Yeah.
Go outside, Bonnie, and you hear it, and it's exactly his voice. You go, Ed, what are you doing? What are you doing here? What are you
Mhm.
doing home? What's going on? Well, it's not Ed. It's a Sasquatch, and it is mimicking to the last syllable their voice pattern and all of that.
That's kind of creepy, though. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
yeah.
it is. But this happens. This is the first time it happens. It was creepy. The second two or three times, it's like, I guess they want me to come outside, or they guess they want
Yeah.
me to go inside. Because they're calling.
Mhm.
They're calling. Number one, to see if you're paying attention. Number two, maybe you do
Yeah.
come outside to interact. It's
Mhm.
See someone listen to this and going, "Oh, bull, come on." This is really happening, folks. That's the whole
Yeah.
reason I'm writing these books, and I'm talking with habituation families. Virtually, that's all I'm talking to is people that are having interactions, and this is going on. And so, if you can't bite into it,
Mhm.
I understand it is bizarre. Uh,
Yeah.
and here's why most people, including myself and you, maybe, when you're born, the day you exit the birth canal, you are educated and programmed by the government and the schools and the churches and the everybody around you.
Mhm.
You're taught how to think, what to believe, what not to believe. This is what can happen. This is what cannot happen. All the schools, and every generation gets every 25 years. There's a whole other batch of books and teachers that coming in just telling you what they've been told,
Yeah.
and they're just regurgitating the same old junk. And so there's no such thing as Sasquatch. There's no such thing as UFOs. There's no such thing as ghosts. There's no Mothman. There's no dogman. And oh
Mhm.
wait, we did lie about the UFOs. Well, you got us there. But we'll keep
Yeah.
going. We'll keep denying. And so that's it. So you're programmed and baptized in the way
Mhm.
of thinking and seeing the world. So when you see something that's out of place, and you go, well, that can't be because they told me. The preacher said there's no.
Yeah.
The Sasquatch is really a Nephilim, or whatever you're told. You have an entire belief system that's been kind of crammed into your little head. And so
Mhm.
that's your vision and that's your interpretation of the world around you when you see and experience things. So your automatic response when you see a 10-foot tall gorilla down there, in the woods in Illinois, well, that doesn't exist except I'm not a crazy person. I'm looking right at it. So now what?
Yeah.
So now, if you have an open mind, you're going, well, that didn't happen. I just must have been seeing something. You can discard it or you can hop on it and do something with it. And these
Mhm.
people, a lot of the ones I'm talking to, had decided to hop on it and do something with it because I know what I saw. I'll
Yeah.
be gosh dang if I'm going to let somebody tell me that's a guy in a ghillie suit or a monkey suit. If somebody's trespassing on my property in a monkey suit, it's a good way to get shot. How smart.
Right.
So anyway, so that's my whole thing. So we're already pre-programmed to think a certain way, and it takes a while for you to have an open mind about specific things. You know.
No, I agree with you. I totally agree. My mom actually was the one who was basically like, you don't see what you see. We're going to keep it to ourselves. You don't tell anyone else. And that's going to be that until I had gotten older and she had gotten older. By that time, she was kind of like, well, you did see what you saw. And yes, this stuff does happen. And, because she was older, but at the time, like I was little and she was just like, you don't see anything.
She's trying to protect you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
and with my son, when he says he sees stuff, it's just like, if I don't see it, I'm like, I believe you, but I don't see it. And I will tell him I don't see it if I don't see something. But I always tell him I do believe him, because some of the things he says, there's no way he's, able to see this if it's not there, because he's not in contact with anything that he should. He doesn't even know. All he knows, Mommy does a podcast. Just like Daddy does a history podcast, Mommy does a podcast. That's it. He doesn't know what kind. But yet he says there was a little girl in his room on fire. And I'm like, okay. I never saw her. And I was just like, I believe you. And he was angry at her because she just wanted to play with his cars. And she eventually left. But he was very adamant about that. And I'm not going to destroy him by saying, well, no, there's nobody here. But I was just if she's mean to you, you need to tell her to leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's encourage them to the point where it might be harmful, or discourage it if you know right off the bat you don't need to be seeing or knowing about this if it was truly an evil or demonic thing. Or he may have totally misidentified a car that drove by the house and the light shined in the bedroom and it lit something up in a weird way that don't discourage. And it's not imagination, it's your reality. It's what you saw. All little kids have their little secret friend or their imaginary friend. Well, it may not be so imaginary.
No, exactly. No, I totally agree. And like with these people, so this woman, Bonnie, so what did they want? Do you know what they wanted with her, that they kept calling her out?
Just to have her come out. And she didn't at first because that was the very first time she didn't, because it was kind of spooking her. She'd seen them. She knew they were out. She has seen a lot of things, a lot of orbs and spiritual things. But when I called the name out, she was reticent at the first time. But she finally went out. The second and third time it happened, as soon as they called, she goes out because she has a gifting area. It's a gifting tree that I had her kind of put together, at my suggestion, because she wanted to know how to interact a little differently. And so I said, a gifting thing. It's fascinating. So this is how you are dealing with a rational, sapient, and sentient being, because the gifting is very specific, and she's got it down to such a science and such a routine that one of the things I suggested was to put up mirrors, because I always thought Sasquatch doesn't get to see itself very often. Except in a babbling brook or in a creek or a puddle of water. That me? Well, I ain't so bad. But I thought they would like that. Well, Sasquatch on her property don't like it. They've she hung, I think, 3 mirrors. They took them all down and they put them on the ground face down. And then she took them and put them back up. They took 2 down, left the other one up, but smashed it against the tree and cracked the glass. So these are these little cheap hand. I said, go to Dollar Tree. Now, these are little cheap plastic handheld mirrors. They're about maybe a foot, not even that. 8 or 9 inches. Got the little. And so they smashed the glass. You could tell it was banged up against the tree. So they go back and forth. And she puts them back up on the tree, but they will turn them around so they're facing the tree, not out, and they wrap a vine around it 6 times.
Oh, wow.
So this is a give and take, pull you thing. I've gifted you these and other things like fruits and the little toys, little jewelry things. They love that. They play with them and they trade them back and forth. But the mirrors, they're adamant they don't want them on the tree, and she is adamant. Well, I'm going to put them back on the tree. Don't break my things. I just spent money on that. Well, what's money? What is money? I don't know. We don't use money. What is that? Why does that mean something to you? That's just me, verbalizing.
No,
thoughts. So they have this. It's really it's it's very communicative. I mean, they're learning
Mhm.
something about each other, and
Yeah.
it's a fascinating thing. And they'll take apples, they'll take birdseed, they'll take things, and they'll she's been gifted. They were stealing now off the gifting tree now, so they have some apple trees and pear trees where they live,
Mhm.
and the fruit started disappearing from about the middle of the tree on up to the top, and there's none
Oh
on the
wow.
ground. There's no half-eaten fruit.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just gone overnight. And she goes, "Okay, quit taking my food. Stop it.
Yeah.
That's ours. If you want some, take a little, but don't take."
Mhm.
So the next day, the pear tree was stripped from the middle on up, but they left everything down.
Mhm.
And so, and she scolded them. She, cussed them out and said, "Listen, I don't want you. We work hard for this. Is our food. This is how we feed our family. You want to have some of it?
Yeah.
That's fine." And she was really, said a lot of, dirty words. And so
Mhm.
the next day,
Understandable.
yeah, the next day they had a rabbit that had had the head popped off. It had been gutted, and it was left in this little, the things you can buy like Home Depot or Lowe's, the little koi ponds, the little,
Yeah.
they're about 3 or 4 feet by 3 or 4 feet, and they're kind of curved and all that. Well, they have this little fountain with running water, and it was left in there. It's right by the trees where they stole the fruit. It was right
Mhm.
there, and it was like, "I'm sorry." It was a gift because she showed her displeasure. And a day or two later, if that wasn't incredible enough, they find a little perch, 4 inch little perch, baby, swimming around in there. There's no way it would have
Wow.
got in there. Her husband,
Yeah.
who was a non-believer at the time, said, "Well,
Mhm.
that's probably one of these herons just flying over, and it grabbed a perch, and it just must have dropped it, and it fell, Okay, so it fell 100 feet from the sky
And
and landed
survived.
right into the little
Yeah.
pond." Okay, it's more likely my story makes more sense than yours. That's stupid.
Yeah.
And so,
Exactly.
but they were gifted. It was an
Mhm.
apology. It was an interaction. "I screwed up. I'm sorry. Here's my apology." And so I give you
Mhm.
a dead rabbit, which is probably very valuable to them. But
Yeah.
it was washed. It had been completely washed. It was clean, and then they put
Oh
it in.
wow.
There was no blood. It was completely uh, void of any
Mhm.
blood, guts. It was spotless. And so
Wow.
that's just one of many, many examples. But that
Mhm.
is like, you screwed up. I understand the human side of it. I'm apologizing. And she said, "Thank you." I mean, so what do you, when
Mhm.
someone tells you that, and a lot of these people, when they call me, they don't know what to do. They go, "What do I do?" I said, "Well, just try gifting." She already had this going for about a year.
Yeah.
Except for the mirror, she was doing fruits and rocks and little things like that that they just had around. She never thought about going to Dollar Tree, So, but you're having an adult conversation, in so many words, by bartering back and forth. "I'm voicing my displeasure. You stole something from me.
Yeah.
Don't do that again." "Well, I'm sorry." And so, what do you do when someone tells you that? I mean, how do you even begin to deny it? She's not a crazy person. And
Yeah.
so it's just fascinating. I've got all kinds of my habituation folks have all kinds of things where they're getting gifted things, and they're
Mhm.
leaving. They'll leave a couple of rocks on the front porch. You know,
Mhm.
uh, they'll find. One of my witnesses, they found 4 or 5 golf balls on the front porch. Well, the husband likes to go out in his acreage. They have 200 acres.
Mhm.
He has almost a football field that's mowed like a golf course. It is like a putting green. And so he hits golf balls. Well, these are all the balls that he
Mhm.
lost over the years. All of a sudden, he forgot about it. But all of a sudden, there's 5 balls on his porch. "We thought
Wow.
you might want these, human."
Yeah.
They're paying attention to your life. mundane as you might think it is. It's fascinating to them, you know.
Yeah.
And so they've shown them their babies. I mean,
Oh.
it's just the list goes on, you know. It's bizarre. You may have a question, but I'll shut
I
up.
do. No, you're good. So is gifting dangerous? Because I've heard gifting can be dangerous. Is that true?
Food would be the one I would really be careful with, because if
Mm-hmm.
you start giving them human food, they like that stuff. You know, we eat some pretty good stuff. You know, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people started off and it's innocently enough. I'm just scraping off the dinner plates and I'll just put it out here on the back porch and Sasquatch or raccoons or whatever will come get it. Well,
Mm-hmm.
they start counting on that stuff. You get that old greasy chicken fried steak, or you know, a roasted chicken carcass, or you know, get some T-bone bones, and you know, hmm, I like me want more. You know, so you got to be real
Right.
careful and just don't do it often. You know, they
Mm-hmm.
love food they cannot get in the wild, but you know, if candy bars, peanut butter,
Mm-hmm.
apples, oranges, bananas, things of that nature, they're kind of harmless. But you know, when you start getting that greasy, spicy stuff,
Mm-hmm.
they love that. So do we, you know. And
Yeah.
you know, there are times when they will, if you suddenly quit doing it, you may start getting rocks thrown at your house, thrown on the roof, sticks. They come banging on the side of your house, slapping on the house, looking in the window. Hey, where's my food?
Yeah.
Come on, cut the crap. Come on, feed me. You know.
Exactly.
So feeding them, I would do that in minimal doses, maybe once a week or once every couple of weeks, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But the really the cooked meats and stuff like that, hot dogs. Oh my God, they love hot dogs. You know, candy bars. They love candy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's actually a
Yes.
good thing. Yeah, but it's a good thing to gift, because very often you'll find the wrappers torn open as would they be done with an opposable thumb. They're not
Oh.
like a raccoon,
Mm-hmm.
you're just chewing on it until they get it off. They don't have opposable thumbs. Well, coons do, but you know what I mean. And so
Yeah.
and so you get things like that, and that is another hint that you're dealing with an intelligent, rational being, because they know how to open these things. They're not just a savage animal. They tear them open and put them. You know, and we had a guy that here in Missouri that used to do them. He used to had an ammo box, and he would
Mm-hmm.
put a tape recorder in the bottom, and then put some mesh over it so you really couldn't see it. Then you put a couple of candy bars there and just leave it overnight, and you would hear this munching, and you'd hear them opening the ammo
Mm-hmm.
box and
Oh wow.
tearing the wrappers. On occasion, you just hear the wrapper disappearing into the distance as it's being carried off. You know, but it's a great way to find out how and what they do and when they do it and why they do it. But you know, but
Mm-hmm.
my whole point is these people are interacting on such a level that they named them. Oh,
Wow.
that's Paco. We'll call him
Mm-hmm.
Paco, because he liked my hamburger helper that I put too much taco sauce on. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
we call him Paco. You know, but it's just until you're doing it or know somebody who's doing it, this may sound just like sheer folly, but it happens. It's happening to people every day. Somebody you might know, Bernadette, is
Mm-hmm.
going through this right now. They just haven't said anything
Yeah.
because they're too embarrassed, you know, or
Exactly.
somebody you know who's not really close, somebody in your peripheral has had something. They go, yeah, even though they know who you are and what you do, they may not
Mm-hmm.
feel comfortable saying.
Yeah.
But anybody listening to this right now, you know somebody. If it's not you, you know somebody, you just don't know it yet, that is having an experience with a Sasquatch group or family. Trust me.
I believe it. No, I believe that. Yeah. So what about your experiences, your personal experiences? Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure of one that, a couple of times I've been hit with infrasound. Infrasound is
Mm-hmm.
the sound wave. For those that don't know, it's above and below the human range of hearing. and it's something they use. They being the government or armed forces, they can use that for crowd dispersal.
Mm-hmm.
If you shoot it at a crowd, it tears your guts up horribly. But used with some finesse, they have paralyzed me a couple times where I couldn't get out of my sleeping bag. I wanted out.
Oh, wow.
And
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't make my hands work. You know, they were just,
Mm-hmm.
someone was walking by my tent. Ooh, 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 I want to see, I want to see. I couldn't get out of my bag. My hands wouldn't work. They just, you know, I was like, I just couldn't do it. I wasn't afraid. I was like dying to get out. And I you know, so I've been zapped a couple of times. I've seen a couple of people zapped and they're dropped to their knees, you know, in some pain and agony, you know. The one event that I really like to tell, which I was telling you before with my wife, you know,
I was about to ask you that.
it's a very good example of either mental telepathy, some hypnosis of some kind, or maybe infrasound. But you know, like I was telling you, you know, we share an office. Her desk is over here, and I've got, you know, files and files. I got photos and videos and photos of, you know, Sasquatch and all kinds of things. And she sees it, so she sees all that. She goes, "Well, I just don't know. You know, I know you believe. I believe you believe. But I just, God, it's just, you know, she was brought up in a parochial school, you know.
Oh, okay.
So her schooling day to day was religious based, and so this is how the world is according to religion, you know. So anyway, I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to take you to one of my research areas. And she's an old Nebraska girl, so she's not afraid of getting out and getting her hands dirty and popping a squat if she has to go to the bathroom or something. I mean, she's lived on a farm, pull the heads off of chickens so we can have dinner. You know, so anyway, she's not afraid of that kind of stuff until she got to this area. So I took her to my research area, which is down near Ellington, Missouri, and she. Here's the very interesting part. There's a big giant long ravine. It's about 100 yards long, and at the end it curves around, and that's where I saw that one disappear when I led my expedition. And I was leading the expedition there. I said, I'm coming back here, and I've been back there probably a dozen times. It's active and it's awesome. Anyway, so they have a gate, a metal gate that you can't drive a vehicle. It is so jagged and uneven and too narrow that they gated it off so nobody could drive even four-wheelers down there, because they got tired, the conservation department got tired of rescuing people that got trapped for all the jagged rocks, and they, you know, blew 3 tires and, you know, come tow me out of here and stuff. So anyway, so I took her and we got there. I backed my SUV up to the gate, and we're starting to walk down. We got about, you know, maybe 10 yards, and she's going, no, I don't like it. I don't like this. I'm saying, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I feel the same thing you're feeling. We're just in their presence. They live here. This is where they live. I call it their living room. This is where they live. So you're going to feel some weirdness because they're watching. And as we got further and further down, every step she's going, no, I don't like it. It's fine. I believe you. I'm going back. I said, no, you're not going back, because I got the key and I'm not letting you go back. We're going to go down to the bottom and take a right, and then we'll come back up. She said, no, I'm going back to the car. I said, look, the car is too far. And I shine my light up there, and my car's not there. I'm going, oh, what? I shined it up at the gate and my car's gone. And I said, where's my car? And she's going, what do you mean, where's your car? Are you messing with me? Your car's right there. I said, no, it's gone. Where is it? It just, for some reason, I shined it down to the other end where we were going, and there was my car. Backed in.
Wow. And
so she goes, you are messed up. Not the exact word, but you know,
I can imagine.
you're jacking with me and cut that crap out. You're freaking me out. I said, no. What, no. How did that happen? I go back and I shine it up at the gate, and it's gone. And I go back down at the bottom, and there it is. I said, and then I suddenly went, you bastard. I know what you're doing. You're messing with me. So I was going there to show her, and they ended up flipping it on me and showing me. I
And
was
that's with you.
I knew what was happening, but I had no control over it. And at the same time, I was going, dang, you guys are good. So about 2 or 3 times back and forth, then I shined my light back up where it should have been, and there it is. And I shined it back down where we were going, where it shouldn't have been, and it wasn't there. So, but they were showing me, and then basically showing her, this is how this stuff works. It was awesome. We had somebody over at the house just a couple of days ago, and my wife was going, we told that story. She's going, yeah, this stuff's real. I don't care what you think, but whatever he tells you, whatever he's researching, this is real stuff. And so she got baptized. It was funny. I did too, because I'd never been made to see something that was not there. Although you could say, well, that Sasquatch had vanished and blew up in front of me. But that was different. I think it jumped portals or jumped to another dimension, and it did what it could. It wasn't a gradual cloaking. It was like, boom, I'm out of here, because what are you guys doing here? You're waiting for me in the dark. You scared me, So, but that is like one of my most epic examples of what they can do. And I wasn't high. There was nothing going on. We hadn't even had a drink. I mean, we're camping, for Christ's sake, And so that was an unbelievable example of what they can do. Now this gifting of rocks was left to me in 2020 in Jonesboro, Illinois. I led an expedition for BFRO 2019, and we had it was a very similar area. It was real long, but it was a little wider, but it was impassable for people that weren't healthy, And so I had 4 people on this expedition, and my partner, Harold, who lives in Illinois. I have a partner in almost every state. So I have somebody I can, go with.
Yeah.
So you're not by yourself. So anyway, Harold had a couple of strokes. He's had cancer. He's had a lot of bad physical ailments. So he had to walk with, 2 walking sticks, and he could not navigate that terrain. So on the night I took my people down, these 4 people, he stayed in his truck waiting for us in the parking lot. The next night, the Saturday night, he stayed back at our campsite because he just couldn't traverse it and didn't want to put himself through the aggravation. So I'll get away with that reflection.
That's good right there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you see there's 5 rocks on one end on the left there, and there's one round rock at the very other end of this trunk. That pointy rock, I didn't know this at the time, was me, and the 4 people behind me were the 4 expedition goers. The short round rock was Harold at the other end, who was there, but he wasn't there.
Oh wow.
You know what I mean? So that we didn't find this until 2020. We decided to go back in 2020. COVID had hit by then. We went back and hit in March, I think, and we went there in October that year. And so I said, Harold, I just want to come. I want to see if that area has the same magic, because I really like the feel of the area. I felt like we were kind of in their living room, and like we did over there here in Missouri. So we went, we camped. Now, like, nobody was out. You couldn't go to a restaurant. You couldn't do anything. You know how it was. And so we went there 10 o'clock or so in the morning. We spent a couple of hours, and I said, you know what? This really feels good here. So I tell you what, I'm going to go get a camera. We'll get a trail camera. I'm going to leave it here. Hopefully, maybe we get a picture or something. Of course, highly likely you don't, but You'll never get one if you
There's
don't.
always that one chance. Yeah,
It's like the Powerball. Well, you never
exactly.
get a winner if you don't play. Well, I'll play. I'll throw away $2. Anyway, so we left there about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. 5 o'clock, it's dark, and so the odds of any humans coming by that area during COVID is not very good. And then stacking rocks like that. But anyway, so we went back to the camp, and I came back to this area to get my camper on the way back to Kansas City. And so it was about 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning. And I went down there, and then I see these rocks.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at that. I said, these weren't here. It didn't even dawn on me to match it up with. And I kept looking at it. I was going, well, oh, God, that's me. That's us. I started getting teary-eyed and emotional when I tell
And
the story.
excited, yeah.
It's riveting. That was me. That pointy rock is the leader. The 4 people behind it were the 4 expedition goers, and the short round rock is Harold's a short round guy.
Oh,
Because he was there and wasn't there. That was a symbolic. They were telling me, well, he's over here because, well, he was there, but he wasn't really there, but he was in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I'm going, oh my God, oh, gee. I'm freaking out. I'm going, oh my God, because I'm yelling and screaming in the middle of nowhere. And this area is the Trail of Tears in Illinois.
Oh, okay.
A lot of bad vibes and negativity and death and sorrow in that area. So anyway, I call my wife. It's like 8:30 in the morning. She's at work. I'm going, you're not going to believe this. I'm telling her. I was telling her everything. And she goes, well, what time did that happen? I said, well, it had to happen last night. I told her, well, we left around 2 o'clock. It got dark by 5 or 6 because it's fall, and there's nobody out. So it had to happen. I said, well, why? She goes, well, here's something. Last night I'm getting ready for bed, 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm in the bedroom by myself, and a blue orb starts flying around our bedroom.
Wow.
It's zipping around. And not only does she see it physically, like she sees it, it flies right by her. It's like, she also sees it reflected in the mirror. So she's seeing a real thing. It's not a reflection from outside our home or anything like that, which is the way the house sits. It's impossible. We don't get car lights or anything like that. And it just flew around the bedroom for about 15, 20 seconds, then went into the bathroom. Boom, it's gone.
Wow.
That was the Sasquatch saying, I know where you live.
Yeah, exactly.
It was, and it's just like, it was a monumental thing for me. I made contact and they made contact with me, and I'm just flipping out. I'm so overjoyed. It was just like, I hear about this from everybody else, but it never happens to me. Oh my God. It was the aha moment of all aha moments,
Yeah.
And so I put her on the cover of the book. So, and the next time we go back there, we went back 3 years in a row, 20, 21, and 22. I went back there in 21, and all the rocks are off of this log. And the one round rock that was Harold, it's where the 5 rocks were. All the others are gone. There's just that one rock. Harold, because that day he was with me, he finally down. We took a long time walking slow, stop, take a break. He got down there, and I'll be damned if that rock that represented him was in the place of the 5 rocks. And the reason I know it's that rock is because when I found it, I dusted it for prints to see if there was any fingerprints, because I carry a DNA kit. I carry a crime scene kit and a DNA kit with me at all times. So I dusted it for prints, because they picked those rocks up and moved them. I mean, they had to pick them up and put them. I thought, well, maybe I'll get a print. Not likely, especially even sitting out overnight, with the dew and animals and stuff. Well, of course, there's nothing, but there was little black residue left, on the rock. So, but they left that rock. In the book, I've got a picture of Harold standing by his rock and the little gifting tree that I put up at that area. And it was just like, it was so cute. Harold had this big old smile on his face. Like, he was just like, oh, that's so cool. That's me. That's a rock. That's me. But it was just.
And if you wouldn't have tested it, though, you wouldn't have known. I mean, say there would have been. Was there a print? Did you get a print? No print.
But I didn't get any. But
there could have been.
If there had been, I'd have.
Yeah.
I have oil.
Gotten it.
I got lift tape on me. I could lift tape and put it on a card, and I've got the print. Which I have. That handprint right behind me up on the wall. That's full of dermal ridges. That one here.
Oh wow.
On my right. Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, so it was the aha moment, and since that time, 2019, we've had so many weird things going on here. Interactions, things go on every couple of weeks. There's something. The other day, I was washing dishes in the kitchen, and I was talking to my wife, who was sitting in the bar room, and she goes, "Did you hear that?" She got this look on her face like, "Did you hear that?" I said, "Hear what?" "I'm washing dishes. I can't hear. I'm making noise. I'm clattering dishes."
Yeah.
Something just snapped its fingers in my ear, and I saw the look on her, like, and that's happened to us. Now, not in our ear. That's the first time it's been in the ear. We've heard finger snaps or clicks a couple of times. Like I was telling you earlier, I had something tap me on the head 3 times while watching TV, sitting on the sofa. I looked over at my wife, said, "Did you do that?" "Do what?" And I go, "Come on." "No, what? What are you talking about?" She watches TV. She has her Fire in her lap, in her phone.
Yeah.
She's like, "I'm not even here." I might as well not even be there, because she's got all the social media and all the all the stimulation she needs. That she doesn't need me sitting there. But we've had knocks on a door, a voice called my name. Things walking across our bed at night. Something pulled a pillow out from under her head one night. I felt like 3 or 4 hands under each of my legs lift me up and was slowly carrying me off toward the edge of my bed. And then they dropped me with my wife.
Yeah.
She'd gotten up and gone to the bathroom, and I watched her. I said, "Are you seeing this?" And she didn't even acknowledge me. She just walked to the bathroom. It's kind of like I was looking through this fog. I said, "Are you seeing this? Are you seeing this?" And she didn't answer. And she went to the bathroom. As soon as she flushed the toilet, they dropped me on the bed, whoever they was.
Oof. Yeah.
And I get visions of the Sasquatch people in their habitat.
Wow.
I am going down this ravine, and I'm going down real slow, but everything by me is going by much faster than I'm actually moving, because their version of time and space is completely different than ours, And so I feel like I'm going slowly like this. I'm getting close, but it's going by me like 100 miles an hour. It's kind of like the Road Runner, I'm going faster than I look, And so, but I see the kids, the juveniles, walking around. They're eating bugs, chasing bugs, and just poking sticks in the ground. And a mom or papa just kind of laying around walking. Maybe just it's a day in the life. I've seen this probably half a dozen times, and a couple of times. And it always, my wife and I, we meditate as we go to bed at night. So we're both type A, so we're kind of trying to come down a little bit. So right as I get into that alpha state is when I get these visions, and I'm not seeing things. It's not a lucid dream or anything like that. I'm well aware. I'm awake, and I know, and I start seeing these things. It's the same thing over and over. I think if I was going to be seeing something, I might hallucinate something different every night. But I see them, and there's like 2 or 3 of them, and sometimes it looks like they're almost like little kids that are like trying to get into the camera and look at me. But there's no camera that I'm aware of. But I'll see 3 or 4 faces, and they're all, "Oh, look, there's a human. Oh, look, he's in bed. What's he doing?" It's just, it's weird. That's what it looks like, and only one time have they spoken to me when I said, "This doesn't look like Missouri. Where is
Mhm.
this? It looks similar to my research area. And I hear, this is home, home.
Wow.
And that's it. It's in my head,
Mhm.
you know, and then everything goes out. But this happened about probably about a half a dozen times. And it's the
Mhm.
same thing each time, you know.
Wow.
And it's just like, so this stuff happens, guys. And if you don't
Yeah.
believe me or believe, you know, your husband, your wife, your cousin, your coworker, I'm sorry for you, but this stuff is happening, you know. And you may think, well, he's a nut. He writes books. He's kind of trying to sell a book, so he's going to spook them all up. You know, this is real stuff. It's happening. And those of you who have experienced what I'm talking about, you already know. You're experiencers.
Yeah.
You're not like, that sounds like a bunch of crap. Come on, nah. You know, it's a real thing, you know. And
Yeah.
until it happens to you, you know, like the husbands who didn't believe their wives were seeing Sasquatch where they're away at work during the day, and suddenly, and they made fun of them for 5, 10, 15 years, and then suddenly they see one and they go, oh boy, I got some crow on my face. Oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, you know, they're just like, oh God, oh my God. And they're
Yeah.
just, you know, it happens all over, you know. And they're baptized. Hallelujah. You know, church of the Holy Testament,
So
you know.
oh, before we get into some questions, do you know Robin McCrae?
Yes, I know who she is.
Okay, I was gonna say you two would get along great because some of your experiences, and I've had her on, and some of her experiences, it's just basically parallel from what she has told
Yeah,
us
and
when
she's
she
out in
was on.
Canada, right? Isn't she? Isn't she Canada?
Uh, no, I think she said South Carolina. I want to say South
South Carolina.
Carolina.
There's another
Yeah.
person with a similar name, Brian Bland and Michael
Mhm.
Harrell with Pork and Bean Show. They have so many spiritual people, and
Yeah.
they're in a much more serene and encouraging area. They're in deep, deep woods where there's no humans,
Mhm.
no industry, no city, no noise and cars. I mean, they're much more open and likely to experience a spiritual situation because of where they are. You know, I keep trying to tell Brian and Michael that, you know, I just have too much clutter in my head to be able to experience it on a daily basis. You
Yeah.
know, and every time I think they've forgotten me, I'll get something that will happen.
Yeah.
And I'm keeping a list now. It's called Strangeness at Home. It's all the weird stuff that's going on that's inexplicable. Some of it could be explained, maybe
Yeah.
poltergeist like, but this didn't start
Mhm.
until I made my contact. So,
Right.
okay, I'm ready for
That's gonna be
questions.
a great book if you put it out. All right, let's get into some questions. So, get this up here. There it goes. So, hopefully I don't mess up too bad. Con Squatch says, is Carter still experienced? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, am I still experiencing
Yeah.
paranormal? Yes, yeah. Just a
Mhm.
few days ago, when I was telling about my wife having fingers snapping in her ear, she's sitting there reading a book.
Mhm.
I'm in the kitchen, and
Mhm.
did you see that? Did you hear that?
That's
You know,
unnerving when it happens.
yeah. And then I
Yeah.
told I was on another podcast and I mentioned that, and somebody said, well, you know, clicking or snapping of fingers is one of the most telltale signs of a paranormal existence. You know, that's your business, but the person says, you know, that is one sure way that you're dealing with something that is there but not
Mhm.
there, is snapping or clicking.
Clicking.
So yeah,
I
I'm
never
still
thought of that.
there's still weird stuff going
Yeah,
on here. Yeah.
yeah. I've never thought I've had that happen a lot, but I've just never thought of that. That's interesting.
Yeah, this person was a medium, and he said
Okay.
that is one of the two or three things that I, as a medium,
Mhm.
define a poltergeist or a paranormal experience is, you know, clicking out of the ether, just, you know,
Oh, okay. That's
unmistakable.
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So next, Jose Sanchez, he says UAP is a convenient term to enlighten and discredit the heavier, more serious UFO term.
Yeah, I like that,
I tend
Jose.
to
That's
agree
pretty
with him.
cool. I like that. I like that. that explanation there. Lighten and discredit. In other words, so they can just sweep it under the rug, you know. So yeah, that's cool. Yeah, the UAP, UFO, ETs, extraterrestrials. I'll always use those words because that is an absolute definition of what we're experiencing. So yeah, good one. I like that.
No, I totally agree with you. Yeah, it'll always be UFOs to me. I don't care what they'll call it. It's always going to be UFOs. Again from Jose, he likes this time slot, but I agree. I like this time slot better because we used to be on the 11 o'clock right after lawn on Fridays. So just wanted to put that. But I agree. It's a better time slot. I'm very happy with it. Trust me.
Yeah.
Thomas wants to know any instances of Bigfoot moving game cameras.
Yeah, I've had one camera moved, but just enough. And I had it strapped. I went to a property where this guy had taken a picture on his trail cam. He had it looked like a chimpanzee here in Missouri. There was no chimps in Missouri. Just thought I'd tell everybody. There's no monkeys here in Missouri. So anyway, but I went up and I climbed about 25 feet up in this tree and I strapped it in really good. I had it pointed down to a bag of apples that we suspended on a wire across this little gully, about 25 feet. And so I wanted to see if something was going to take the food. Well, when I checked the camera, you could see that it had been moved up. In each frame, click about 5 times, it had moved up, so it was no longer, and it was moved up, not down. So something got up there and pushed it up slowly. Gravity being what it is, a squirrel or a coon or something that's walking around up there, it'd come down. But you couldn't move it, and it was no longer facing the bag of apples. So I know we both agreed that was moved, that was moved, yeah. And they take and move things a lot, all the time. I have a witness in Alabama who just contacted me in the last couple of weeks, and they stole a 50-pound box of rat poison and a 50-pound bag of corn that was taken out of a secured area, a pole barn. And I know why they took the rat poison, because they don't want them poisoning the food source around there, because they may eat.
Oh, okay.
I
say, I hope why would they take the rat poison? Yeah, that was a little weird.
Here in Missouri, we got big fat wood rats, and I've got an example in my book of them taking wood rats and just popping the head off and eating them. And so if you're poisoning the wood rats, they're big, nasty things. They're like possum. They're the size of a possum, but they're just nasty. Okay. And so, but they just pop the heads off of, raccoons and possums, just eat them, mostly whole. So, but, I think they took the poison to prevent them from poisoning anything they might eat.
That's smart.
That's why, in the 50-pound bag of corn, well, they took that because, it's a 50-pound bag of corn.
Yeah. Who doesn't like corn, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Our next question is from, sorry if I butcher your name, Dissidem. I've heard Salbe Sasquatch people like spam. The person I heard who left it received many gifts from them too.
Yeah, well, they like, I've never used spam, but hot dogs are a big favorite. Hot dogs. They seem to really like the ones that you can buy that have cheese in them, or they're, of course, they're hot dogs with cheese, cheddar brats, so to speak. But they like that. So yeah, spam's probably a good one too, because it's a byproduct of a food that they eat in the wild naturally. Hogs. So yeah, I've never had a hog like this. That's interesting. I like that. We'll call it spam.
Exactly. Okay, and this comment is from Thomas. I just thought it was funny. He said, "Poor Paco. His real name is probably Steve."
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, or Steve, or Paco, or Paco, or whatever your name is.
All right, let's see. Karen Peterson said, Carter, do you know what the white residue is that they leave behind? Does it serve a purpose?
Boy, I hope I get a good grade for this question. It's a Alba Vernix. Alba Vernix.
Okay.
Alba Vernix. And it's the white waxy residue. And I've got several examples of that in my books, so the last one especially. That white film, I mean, they'll run it across, and it's like they've got grease, or Crisco or something. But it's called, the scientific name is Alba Vernix. Look it up, Albavernix. And it's just like the oil we have on our hands, but they, of course, being much bigger, a different physiology than we are, they probably, have different secretions than we do. But yeah. Alba Vernix. I hope I get a grade for that, or like a sucker or something. I like it when somebody asks me a question.
You get like a gold star for me because, I don't know what it was. So I heard Robin mention it, that she had like a handprint on the pillow in her house from one of them, and she said she didn't even know what it was. So
yeah, I've got all kinds of photos.
So
I wouldn't be able to see them very well, but it's called it's got a name,
Interesting. I did not know that. Like I said, you get a gold star from me.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm going to show you something here.
All right, sounds good.
In my book. Now,
oh wow.
What do you see?
I see a face. Like somebody pressed their face against a window. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
One of my habituation families. They have greenhouses, and they build their own. They're all like, they look like long Quonset huts, and they grow their own vegetables. Let me see if I got a picture of one of them here. Yeah. Looks like that. So they're made with the really thick but pliable plastic. And in the winter, they have two of them right next to each other. They have a propane heater that heats the inside of the greenhouses when it gets to be like 0 degrees here. They will heat the inside of the greenhouse so the food doesn't freeze and rot, because this is how they make their living. So they noticed that something was getting in, or somebody was getting in and eating some of their fruits and vegetables. Well, that's how they make their living, and they thought was humans, although they'd seen the Sasquatch walking around the property. They see them. This is another habituation family. They see them. They watch each other. They'll peek from behind a tree, like I said earlier, but they're just watching. They watch from a distance, but they know. My people know they're there. Okay, mortal clown. Let me finish my story, then I will. So they thought a neighbor, was stealing stuff, which isn't unusual in that area. So they were trying to keep an eye on it and just really couldn't figure it out. They were coming in after hours and everything. And they'd seen them, like I said, walking around. So one night they heard a bunch of noise. And the guy who takes care of all the greenery, he's going, oh, okay, that's it. I'm sick of this crap. He ran out there with his phone, with his light on. And as he runs out the door, he hears this unbelievably loud howl. Definitely a Sasquatch howling and screaming. Yeah. Just in the woods off to the right. Then as he approaches the greenhouse, he hears screaming and yelling off to the left. Definitely Sasquatch screaming and yelling. Then he's about to get to the greenhouse and walk in the door. He hears screaming coming from inside the greenhouse. And so he's going, I don't give a blanket. And he opens the door, and this Sasquatch runs right by him, brushes up against him.
Oh my God.
It's a juvenile. It's probably 6.5, 7 foot tall. And he's like, holy crap. The other Sasquatch were screaming, were warning him, "Hey, the human's coming! Get your butt out of there!" Well, it was too late, and it had gotten to the point where he would eat the food and lay down and take a nap because he'd see this big impression on the ground when he got out to the greenhouse in the morning. They were eating the strawberries.
Oh my gosh!
And the tops off of radishes. Now, since that happened, their favorite food is eggplant. So I'll get this photo for the guy again. And don't try to steal it and call it your own. I know where you live.
I don't think they will. They're good people. So
I know. I'm just
that
joking
is
with
amazing.
you. But look at that.
Oh, that's amazing.
The photo is, it is on the inside. That photo is the inside. It's taken from outside, but that creature was pushing its face up against the plastic, looking for the human so I can get my butt out of here. And it pressed up against.
Yeah.
Of course, the eye sockets are deep set, so they're blank, they're white. But if you look at this up close, if you get one of these books, you can see the hair. I mean, it's there. Now, the other thing is
that is.
That's the door that it ran by, and you see the handprint with his hand on it. This is the owner, not me.
Yeah.
You see the handprint up there on the upper left of that door?
Yeah.
That's where it was putting its hand while I was looking out. Since then, I have gotten 3 or 4 other photos just like that face print, but smaller, not quite as complete. There's like 2 or 3 faces in one photo. And so I don't know if it's the one just keeps looking and putting his face there, or if it's more juveniles in the family. I can't tell. But what do you do with that? It brushed up against him. It could have kissed him. I mean, they touched. It ran through there, and it was screaming its butt off. It was totally free. It is.
And I'm sorry to laugh, but
But it's a comedy, and this is how you're dealing with a real innocent situation. I mean, who makes that stuff up? It did it. It was a juvenile caught. They've seen the juvenile, and it's around 6.5 feet tall.
Oh wow!
It's tall. It's not tall. It hasn't. That's pretty tall, but that's not a full-grown boy. They've got some out there that are 9, 10 foot tall that they've seen, and they know how tall they are by the trees they see them by. But
I'm 5'2", so anyone taller than me, I'm just like, oh my gosh.
yeah. Well, everybody's taller than you. Yeah. But
exactly, that's true. No, that's very true.
But what do you do with that? What do you do with? I mean, these people are just innocent, salt of the earth, and this family has. I have been dealing with members of this family on and off for 10, 11 years. I knew their uncle. I still know him. He was the first experiencer, and the family has one family name, and within a mile of each other in this one area, there's 3 families from the same family name living together. And when they call me about all this stuff, I go down there and I brought them some books, and I met 9 people, 9 family members. And it's the funniest thing because they're all pulling out, flip phones and pads. Oh, look at my picture. No, look at mine. This one's better. I mean, they all had photos. Some of them are pretty good. Some of them are like, well, it's a blob squad. But, I know what they're looking at. So, but the thing is, this whole family is attracted by the Sasquatch, or the Sasquatch are attracted to this family because they don't hunt wastefully. They give and take from the land only for what they need. They don't like go out and shoot a bunch of people, a bunch of deer or something just to have a rack on the wall. They live and respect the earth, and that's part of the message they have for humanity is quit polluting, quit hating each other, and all the other kumbaya stuff. But this whole family, I've had expedition encounters with the uncle and his cousin once or twice, and then this family.
Wow.
And so some people are magnets. It's fantastic. it's just an incredible thing. And these people are coming through the woodwork, just telling me stuff. Look at that picture.
I was going to ask you that right after the questions. That picture is amazing. That's your new book you have out, correct?
Yeah, yeah. And everybody says, well, that is the biggest hoax I've ever seen, or that is the greatest photo. Oh my God, I can't believe it. It's nothing in between.
Yeah.
It's like you're full of crap,
No. You're only full of crap until they experience it. That's the only time you're full of crap. Yeah. And then after they experience it,
and so there's an incredible story behind that, but we don't have time. But it's just, I got this stuff coming out my ears, and people are just sharing things with me, and it's just, I'm so privileged, and it's because they can talk to me. I'm not going to ridicule them or laugh at them, and I'm going to talk to them and show them respect, which is what they never got. And that's why I'm putting these books out. I want somebody else to go, oh, that happened to, didn't Uncle Roy have that happen to him? That looks like the same thing he saw 15 years ago. Whatever happened to Uncle Roy? Well, he just doesn't come around much. Everybody, laughs at him. And so then I get stories, and I'll get a story from, little Lulabelle telling about her Uncle Roy, who told this story. And then I might hear from Uncle Roy. It's just, and that's what I want, And no, I ain't getting rich selling books. I give away one for every one I sell, because of promo. Is
exactly
have them to learn from, either learn like, well, this guy's nuts, or learn like, oh my God, this is the real deal, So that's why I'm doing this, I mean, really. And it's just remarkable. And more, very slowly, people are starting to go, that explains a whole lot more than the ape only crowd, and everybody's welcome. If you believe they're just flesh and blood only, well, good. I mean, they are flesh and blood, but I believe some, maybe probably not all, but some of the elders may have the skill sets of changing their vibrational frequency, slipping to another dimension, disappearing, paralyzing your body, making you think you hear something over here when it's over there. It's your opinion is your opinion. It's your reality. We just don't need the hate and venom that is spewed by everybody, my side and others. They're all just getting, why are we doing that?
And then there's those who like, exactly. Well, you have the people who are just like, it's my way or the highway. I'm right. And if you don't follow me, you're wrong. There's room for everybody, in my opinion. So
there is.
That's how I feel. Yeah.
No, that's exactly right.
And if you don't, go ahead. Sorry.
Mortal Clown, have you had a UFO experience doing Bigfoot 1? No, I have not. But in my second book, this one here, I had a guy up in a New England state who had 6 hours of missing time after he saw a Sasquatch. 6 hours. He did not see a crowd.
And why is that?
Don't know. We don't know. He was. They were adding on to it. They live in a small cabin. His wife had a baby, and then she got pregnant right again, and so they already had outgrown this cabin. He's a very well-off, very successful entrepreneur in the tech industry up in one of the, in the Northeast somewhere. But he loves living out in the middle of nowhere. They live off the grid, in a cabin in the woods.
I don't blame him.
Goes to the big city in the morning, makes his money, and goes back home. So they were redoing the cabin, adding on 2 more rooms to the cabin. So his wife had moved out, and she was staying with relatives down the street, down the road. They're in the middle of the dense woods, and he was staying in a 30-foot travel trailer. And so about 10 o'clock at night, they were putting away the tools. The work crew was leaving because they had the thing all lit up. They can work well into the night because it's all lit. So they put all the tools away, shut the lights off. He had one little load of tools left, and all of a sudden, he sees something coming at him, from this tree over by his cabin, and it's just kind of walking, Then it hits the light, and it's going. That's a Bigfoot. Now he had seen them on his property and on his neighbor's property, but that was the only interest he had. You know, it was just like, well, they're out here. I believe they exist, but you know, they have nothing to do with me, and that's it. So this Sasquatch is just walking at him, you know, not chasing him, not growling and snarling. It's just walking right at him, kind of leisurely. Well, he's got a 120-pound German Shepherd, very expensive trained attack guard dog sitting right next to him. This dog, he gives him the command, go. It just sits there. The dog's
it's not stupid.
Well, no, it's turned off. He's clicked out because the dog's just, and if he even sees a raccoon, he's all over it. You know, I mean, he's a trained to kill unless he gets an order to kill or he gets an order to stand down. And so very well trained, spent a lot of money on it. So the dog's just sitting there, and all of a sudden kind of starts leaning against his leg, and he's going, what the hell's wrong with you? You dumb dog, what the hell? So they haul ass to the travel trailer. They barricade themselves in, and he can see the Sasquatch walking around outside this travel trailer. Then he realizes, I don't have a weapon. I don't have my gun. Oh my God. So he goes into the kitchen and he finds a butcher knife. So he finds a butcher knife about, you know, that long, and him and the dog run into this whole time. The dog is not doing anything. It's just like nothing's going on, but he's clicked off of his guard attack thing. He's been clicked off. That's all he can come up with. He's been clicked off. And so, and you can see the Sasquatch walking around. You can see him through the blinds in the window. So they go and barricade themselves in the bathroom. And he is standing there, not standing, he's sitting there like this with his butcher knife. And he's facing the door. He knows it's going to come in and just tear him to shreds. I'm going to get him. You know, I'm prepared. And the dog is leaning next to him. He just, you know, what the heck is wrong with you? You know, next thing he knows, it's about 10:30 at night when this happened. He wakes up 5:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Same condition. He's just like this. He's refreshed. It's not like he was there in that position all night. It's like it just happened. 6 hours is gone. The only reason he wakes up is because the workers are getting back the next morning. And then he hears his wife, she honks a horn because she comes over in the morning. They have breakfast together, and then she goes back and he goes to the city, goes to work. You know, it's all real. But that's their life. But 6 hours.
Yeah.
You know, his name is Josh in the book. That's not his name. But I say, hey, Josh, regression hypnosis. If you want to know what happened, try regression hypnosis, because I've done it. I've been under 4 times. It works. You want
Does
to?
it?
I don't want to know. I do not want to know. I had a Travis Walton experience. I don't want to know. Maybe later, but right now I've got a business to run. I got a baby to raise. I got one on the way. I don't want to know about any of that. And he doesn't communicate with me anymore. He got the information. He shared his story with me because he heard me. Most of these people hear me on podcasts like yours. And they say, hey, I heard you, man. Hey, can we talk? You know, it happens that simple and that often, you know. And so he doesn't want to know. But that's 6 hours of missing time. There was no UFO. Of course, he would not communicate with me after. They said, I'm going to disappear on you here, but I really appreciate everything. But, thank you for what you do. I greatly appreciate you for talking to me. But, I'm going to disappear now because I don't want this to, engorge my life. I don't want to be surrounded with it. I just wanted to forget
but he had to tell somebody though. But he had to tell somebody. That was the other thing too. Yeah.
And he told his wife 2 months after that. I was trying to remember. He did tell me. I waited 2 months to tell her because she was having a baby. I didn't want to freak her out. Of course, now she had the baby. Then they told her, "Oh, okay, now you're going to freak her out because we have a baby." So, okay, this is Sasquatch.
Oh yeah, once she's out of the danger zone, it's okay to freak her out.
Yeah.
So Thomas wants to know: Do you think, Bigfoot can maybe?
I don't see why they can, because I believe they can slip dimensions. So if science will admit to up to 11, maybe up to 21 dimensions. So you could travel 5 million miles by taking 10 steps if you can go into a different dimension or a different, from a certain access point. So theoretically, I don't see why they couldn't,
Yeah. I have two comments I thought were good. Little Clown said that they love how you're not scared ever.
Ever.
I agree.
Well,
I feel like you don't seem,
I don't, well, because I know them and I don't fear them. I don't think they're going to hurt me, unless I'm trying to hurt them. I think it's a two-way respectable thing. It's not that I'm fearless. I've had a few times where I'm going, boy, if this gets any weirder, I'm out of here. But it did. I appreciate that. But that's one thing that I got to do is just kind of keep your cool and believe and know them that they're not going to hurt you. If as many times as I've been in the wood, thousands and thousands of hours, if they wanted to tear me up, dogman, Sasquatch, they could have had me. They didn't.
They could.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any dogman encounters?
Huh? Have I?
Have you ever had any dogman encounters while you're? Yeah, have you?
Not that I'm aware of. I have a pretty good video that I can't share. It's so clear I can't share it, but it's from one of my habituation witnesses that are have Sasquatch on their property. And they've also heard talking. How long do Bigfoots live? I don't know. People that claim to know say a couple to several hundred years, but we don't know. Is that dog years, or we don't know. I know they communicate with somebody in our human race, and we know exactly, how long they live, their gestation period, all that stuff. I know, we just don't know it because we're not the cool kids,
Yeah.
How we do it on time?
We're kind of the cool kids, but we're not really at that table yet. We're good. We can go as long as you want. I mean, that's like I said, this is your show.
We did the hour and a half, so sorry. Protection from dangerous Sasquatch or any negative cryptids, really. Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's bad ones in every bunch. Just like there's bad humans. There's axe murderers and all the bad kind of crooks and criminals, and just bad disingenuous people. So you're going to have a bad one in all the bunches. So there's probably, but I think they have a checks and balances in the Sasquatch community. I think they police their own, and you don't, there's been a lot of stories about being chased and attacked, but I've not heard of anybody being killed by Sasquatch. I've taken 2, maybe 3 dogman reports in conjunction with Sasquatch event. The Sasquatch came immediately after a Sasquatch sighting. So I have this video I told you. It's just the side of the head is all you see. It's walking toward a camera, and it walks toward the camera, and it sees the camera, and it turns off and turns away from the camera as soon as it sees it. So, but there's 21 frames of film on that. I broke it down. I developed each frame that had a picture of the ear, and so there's 11 frames out of 21 that have actually. And you see this big, long, pointed ear. It goes most of the way up the head, not over the head, but it's slammed up against the side of the head. I would say it's, I don't know, 5-6 inches, maybe. It's very, very clear. It's just very clear. And these guys, they have seen, he has seen 2 dogmen with the backward leg. And he's also seen one with the snout. And so they've seen them on their property, and they have Sasquatch conversations, calling her name while he's gone to work, stuff like that. They're in a true situation.
Why do you think they avoid the camera? They obviously know it's there, so they're highly intelligent to know the cameras are there, trail cameras are there. Why do they avoid it?
Well, because it's a giant eye looking at them, and now I think, and most people that have any experience will probably agree, they can affect the batteries, they can affect the camera. Many times you hear guys that they put brand new, 8 brand new batteries in the trail camera. They're dead the next night. How can that happen?
Yeah,
because they drain the batteries, unless you've got some malfunction. But you put fresh batteries in. I've got batteries in some very nice cameras. 2 years later, they're just sitting there, fully ready to go. I've had them out, and they didn't trip. Now, there's sometimes, you'll see a pictures. You'll see a deer, blank, blank, blank.
Yeah.
And then just, it's black, and then you just see woods and no animals at all. Where were those 3 frames? What happened on those 3 frames? How come those didn't take? You see that a lot. You hear it a lot.
Yeah.
So I think they can affect the camera. And number 2, if they want to affect their vibrational frequency, while we get all these blurry photos, you change your vibrational frequency just a little bit, and you're blurry. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to duck and get away from the camera. You just, and you're blurry. That's why we have all the red circles. So I think they can do things. Why do they go through the trouble of ducking or avoiding a camera? Well, that goes into my theory that maybe some of the Sasquatch do not have all the skills, or they don't have the skills yet as the adults or the elders. So maybe that's a skill that matures as you mature. I don't know. It's all theory and supposition, but, that would be one reason why one Sasquatch will duck and another one will just sit there and go, and just stand there and let you take the picture because it's not going to be clear. It's not worried about it,
Right.
So,
and any theory is better than nothing. So
yeah, it's something to work with. Well, you just got to crack the camera. Well, that tree was moving in the wind, or well, okay, it's not windy, and strapped to a 9-foot diameter oak tree. It ain't moving at all. So so there's explanations, reasons, but I think they can avoid the camera on many different levels, skill levels.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't get any. And there are some good ones. I got that one.
Yeah, that's a very good one. That really is.
So that is an awesome.
I mean, look at that. That's amazing.
Yeah. The whole deal on this, the landowner, they have about 30 cameras on their property. So what they do is to go out every couple of months, one or both of them. This was the town preacher in this photo, and his buddy owns the land. So they will go out and check the cameras, the batteries, SD cards. If one of them's full, I'll take a card out and I'll pop another one in and make sure the batteries are fresh and everything's all tight and stretched, on the tree nice and tight and everything's all good.
Right.
So when he's walking through, it is 3:12 and 36 seconds in the afternoon. That handprint, 3:12, 40 seconds. 4 seconds after he tripped that camera, that Sasquatch, or whatever hand that is, tripped the same camera, same place.
It wasn't very far behind him.
Nope. He did not see it. He did not hear it. He did not sense it. And they have seen them other times on the property and or sensed them. He had no idea. If you look at the photo very carefully, which you can't see it here, but on the photo with him in it, you see this tree right here on the ground. It's horizontal. It's fallen. It's a tree that's fallen over. That blob in the background is not a Sasquatch or a tree. That is a ground. It is a ground blind. It is a blind. You see the trees.
Yeah.
You see the trees all straight up. You see the shadow. In this picture, the shadow has moved a little bit. The trees over here on this side, they look like they're all blowing. They look like they're moving. It's because this Sasquatch, or whatever it is, bumped the camera. Because it changed the shadow and the amount of sun that was getting there. It changed the the way the thing was pointing. You can still see that horizontal tree that's fallen. You can still see it.
Yeah.
So it's the same. It's the same.
That's amazing.
camera, same
Mhm.
day, same location, 4 seconds is all the difference between having the most incredible event of your life. Now,
Yeah, exactly.
whether it materialized, didn't have
Mhm.
its GPS with them, and it bumped the camera, just being clumsy. But whatever it
Mhm.
is, I've got some other film that I can't show, but
Right.
they're on trail cameras. Every now and then, there's a Sasquatch that didn't
Mhm.
get the memo. Hey, dummy, don't walk by the box with the eyeball. That's a human trick.
Yeah.
Don't do it. And here's a theory I have. If you go back to when the Native Americans and the Sasquatch were probably about the only thing living here. I think we didn't get colonized to roughly the 1600s. Leif Erikson, the Viking,
Mhm.
had a Sasquatch encounter in 936 AD. He wrote of it.
Oh,
Big,
wow.
hairy, hostile, hairy men,
Mhm.
bigger than any man I've ever seen. I mean, they didn't have hoaxing back then. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you go back,
Exactly.
yeah. So if you go back to when the Native Americans and Sasquatch had a symbiotic relationship where they traded foods,
Mhm.
maybe weapons. Sometimes they traded their women, because maybe that's
Mhm.
where the Sasquatch had come from originally. Was if you do the DNA studies, the DNA is 50% human female donor, 50% unknown male hominid of some type. We don't know. But
Wow.
anyway, what I was getting at
Mhm.
is that they had an interaction with the Native Americans. When the Native Americans were herded and marched unmercifully across the land, they took
Mhm.
their pictures. A lot of pictures were taken. Well, the Native Americans, they were scared. They'd never seen a camera before. And when they saw their
Yeah.
face on a piece of film, it was evil. You stole my soul. You can't do
Yeah.
that. You don't take my picture. You stole my soul. My soul is on here.
I can't get it back. Yeah.
Yeah. What happened? What happened? I
Mhm.
mean, if you look into any kind of lore, that's a documented
Mhm.
thought process. So
Yeah.
maybe if the Sasquatch and the Native Americans had symbiotic relationship before we got here and screwed everything up, they may have
Mhm.
adopted that philosophy, or they may know more because I think
Yeah.
they're much more intelligent and vastly more progressive than we are. They have skills that we
Right.
probably had a long time ago. We just don't have anymore because we invented it out of our system. We invented cars and computers and grocery stores. Everything does everything for us. We're just,
Mhm.
flabby, fat,
Mhm.
lazy humans because we don't have to do anything because we've got things to do for us. Maybe we had levitation. Maybe we had, telepathy. Maybe we had all kinds of things. Change your vibrational frequency and
Mhm.
go visit Uranus or Moon or whatever. So anyway, uh,
Yeah.
there's a phobia about that box with the eyeball on it. And so that's probably why they
Yeah.
avoid them. Just but I think some of them have the skill sets to alter what you're seeing, and they don't really care. They'll just blur it out, and all you get is this weird blob. What is that? Well,
Right.
nothing. Keep going, and you think
Yeah.
nothing of it. So
It was just the
anyway,
wind or something. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
So
But something like
before
that.
we
It
go,
just go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
no, go ahead. It's okay.
This, like I said, is
Mhm.
either the most incredible thing people have ever seen, or it's a bunch of crap. I made it up. How dare I put that out?
Yeah.
But these
I
people
don't
are
take much
salted.
stock in those people.
No, I don't. I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so silly. But
I
anyway,
think it's
we're
incredible for what it's worth.
yeah.
I think that is an incredible picture.
It's just mind blowing. And the reason
Yeah.
I know this photo is probably legit.
Mhm.
We were going to do. There was a film crew that was going to come do one of my reports in a certain
Mhm.
state of my witnesses, habituation thing. Well, my witnesses, for some reason, decided to be very demanding. Well, we want some money. We want this. We want, some T-shirts and coffee cups.
Yeah.
Really? And so I called the producers back. I said, hey, they don't
Mhm.
want to do it. But hey, just so happens, I've got another better
Yeah.
picture, better report. You've never seen it. I just got it. It was the
Mhm.
same state. So I sent him this picture. I said, by the way, I want you to check this photo because I had just gotten it and tell me if it's been tampered with. I want to know it's the real
Right.
deal, you know.
Yeah.
And they could find nothing wrong. And they call me back within a couple of hours. We're heading your way. We're coming.
Wow.
So, you know, we ended up filming something for, I think it was for Hulu. That never got off the ground. It was going to be a Sasquatch thing, and it just never got off the ground for a variety of reasons. But anyway, so that's the real deal. I mean, that's a legit photo. You know, I mean, you know, unless they just said we're coming anyway, that's a great picture, and we'll just go with it. But you know, I said look, because I don't want you coming all the way out here and go, what? You know, I asked the preacher. I said, I just have to ask this. I ask all my people to send me incredible photos. Is this the real deal? He said, Carter, it's real. And please don't ask me that ever again.
Well, you know, he's probably terrified. It was like 4 seconds behind him. He was probably scared.
Well, he was actually more irritated that I was questioning him. But I have to question people I don't know very well. If you hand me something like that, you know, it's like you're handing me a head on a platter.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask. I have to ask because I'm not being responsible, you know.
Right.
I want to believe it, but I want it to be legit, you know. So I know we're about out of time.
No.
So I know we're about out of time.
It's okay. Yeah, no, and I definitely want to have you back because you have been wonderful. And we still have a ton of questions. I mean, I could probably keep you here all night with all the questions we've been getting, but I appreciate it. So tell everyone where they can find you, what you have going on next, anything else you want to talk about.
I live under a bridge in Kansas City, Missouri. No, I'm just kidding. Where you can find me. Yeah, well, it's a nice bridge, you know, the Sasquatch.
Oh, well, there.
You know, they gift me.
Nice.
You know. But you can go to my website, which is sqexplorer.com. Real easy, Sasquatch, sqexplorer.com. If you want to email me, it's sqexplorer@gmail.com. See how creative I am? Isn't that amazing? You know? But you know, you can order my books. My books are all on the website. If you want to order all three for a package deal, I'll give you a price. Just email me, contact me. You know, but they're all full color, inside and out, nice, shiny, heavy, glossy paper, and I autograph them for you. I'll personalize them, whatever you want me to say. You know, they're great reads. I've vetted everybody as best I can. Some of these people are friends of mine. I've become friends with them, and you know, they wouldn't yank me. They just wouldn't do it. You know, these are real, everyday people like you and me, Bernadette. Just everyday people that are having incredible things happen to them, and they can't tell anybody because they got no one to talk to, and everybody makes fun of them. So that's why I'm putting the book out. You know, I'm working on another one that's all habituation only. It's just strictly habituation families. So anyhow, that's how you can get a hold of me. I return all emails, you know, unless you're sending me a bill, then I'll send it to the junk file. But you know, that's how you get a hold of me. You know.
And what's next for you?
Next thing for me, I'm doing a 3-day conference in Eureka Springs, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of June. I'm doing a big Metacon thing here in Kansas City in July up at the airport. I don't have the dates. I'm on another podcast with Rush Jones in about 3 weeks. And, you know, then I'm taking a couple of weeks off in between there to go visit my daughter in Utah. So but that's what I got. I usually post all my stuff. I get all these badges and banners, and I post all the stuff where I'm coming. So if you look at my Facebook, I've got stuff up there. If I got something going on, you'll know about it, you know.
That's perfect. And like I said, I would love to have you back. Hopefully you will come back. Everyone loved you. We still had tons of questions, but like you said, and I agree, time is getting late, but I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Oh, it was a blast. I love doing it. You have to like, you poke with the stick to shut me up because I just got, you know, I've got some incredible stories. They're not mine. They're people telling them through me, but they're just mind blowing. Just got you go, what? That can't be.
They are. No, they are.
Yeah, you've seen weird stuff. I've seen weird stuff.
And yeah.
Now, how do you convince somebody?
And I enjoyed them. You don't.
Yeah, yeah. You can only convince somebody so far. They have to experience it themselves. But they have an open mind, and there's just a crack there where something can get through. Good for them.
Exactly. No, but I would love to have you back to hear more of your stories and more of your personal experiences as well. So I will definitely be in touch. So thank you so much. Go ahead.
Good night,
Yeah, we're having a
everybody.
little bit of internet delay here, so.
Yeah, that's okay. It's waited. Actually, we got through pretty well, I thought, with all the crappy internet.
We did. No, I thought we did perfect. Yeah. So thank you again, Carter, and I truly appreciate it.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Have a bye. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Let me get that off real quick. And so I am going to be taking about 2 weeks off, so there won't be any shows for me for the next 2 weeks due to some personal reasons, as well as some kind of health reasons, but everything's okay. We're just taking a break for 2 weeks. When I get my next guest cemented for the end of the month, I will let you guys know. Lon will let you know. But I believe June 1st is a Thursday, and Nurse Hadley has agreed to come back. Her book is coming out, so I'm excited for that. That'll be June 1st. The end of the month, I'm not sure who my guest will be because, like I said, I'm still trying to cement that down. But yeah, I will see you guys in 2 weeks. And if you can find me on TikTok, you can find me on Instagram. Until then, you can always find me every Friday night in the Chat and Launch show. And yeah, so I will see you guys in 2 weeks. And until then, let me make sure I can get this up. Hold on. Until then, you guys take care. Bye, everybody.